What's up, everybody? This is Dominic D'Angelo, WrestleZone.com, and today's date is April 9th, 2021, and this is two. How many, Marcus?
Two of them.
Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude. I am Dominic D'Angelo, and that's my degenerate brother. This way, Marcus D'Angelo. Marcus, how are you today?
You almost called me slapdick, Dom. You almost stole my line.
I almost took your heat right there.
Yeah, you can't do that shit. I'm doing well, Dominic. How are you?
Not too bad. Quite the wild AEW week and wrestling week in general, with it being WrestleMania week. So it's been a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things happened on AEW. I don't think all of them were good, but a lot of things happened.
A lot of things did happen. If you guys are joining us, we're live. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to throw in your input here, and we'll be answering questions and everything like that for it. And Marcus, we got to talk right off the bat here. Right now, as we're doing this, AEW is doing its first ever live house show. The house always wins. And guess who won the Battle Royal for the AEW #1 contendership of the TNT title?
Who's that?
You didn't see this. I tweeted this out. You haven't. Oh, I'm breaking big news here, Marcus. Big news. A favorite of ours, the Butcher, won the AEW tournament, Battle Royal here. And
so he's the #1 contender.
He's facing Darby Allen tonight in the main event, I believe, for the TNT title.
Smokes.
TNT title, yes. So very, very cool. I love that they're put, like, even in this aspect of just a house show that's not televised, they're getting a guy like the Butcher over, so they see the potential and like the power in him, like just the presence he has. So pretty cool to keep tabs on, even if we can't watch it. So
no doubt about it. Wow, that is awesome. And yeah, if anybody deserves a push, as JR gets so annoyed by people saying, it would be old Bunkhouse Butch.
The old Bunkhouse Butch, man. Yeah. So House Always Wins has a pretty interesting card. It has Cody Rhodes taking on Aaron Solo, who's now a part of the Nightmare. Well, now it's just called the Factory. We'll get into that in a little bit. Marcus, if folks are just joining in here, what other show do we have usually on tap for our weekly? That we didn't do it this week, but we're gonna pick it up back next week here.
Yeah, we ordinarily do WCW Rewritten.
Yep.
Dominic, our schedules conflicted this week. We couldn't do the recording, but rest assured, folks, the event is ready to roll. And boy, oh boy, is there a lot of excitement this week on AEW, or rather on WCW Rewritten.
You got some good things set up?
I think so. I've came up with a couple of pretty fun spots. One of them is a comedy spot that I found amusing. So yeah, it should be a good time.
Nice. Well, okay, man. Let's get to it. Again, guys, if you want to join in on the chat or anything like that, give your feedback. Just chat right in here. Melly Mel.
Ordinarily, if I don't care about something, I don't take the time to write. So thanks for watching, bud.
They watched NXT, so. Well, that's kind of true, though. I mean, you look at the ratings, and people did watch NXT. So Stand and Deliver. It was their WrestleMania event. Night one of it going on. So, and they were watching SmackDown. They were watching SmackDown and chatting with us, Melly. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you tuning in. I guess NXT did win in the ratings, right?
They did. So, they did.
So, and let me say, this was not the strongest episode of Dynamite. So, I kind of I'm seeing points here.
Wow. Well, James Espanto Fernando Taquai has joined us as well. Wow.
It's all good, Melly Mel. We know you're just pissing around. We
don't give a shit, even if you were serious.
No. Look, I mean, we put ourselves out there. I think that we can easily expect to get trashed every once in a while. It's not
we deserve to get trashed, especially you, Marcus, for some of your really, well, I can't say that this week. You had a very rock solid take last week.
Suck on that, Dominic.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to it. Is there anything you want to add before we get to kicking here?
No, let's jump in. I'll do my bragging as we go.
All right. Well, get ready. You're up to bat, because that's how we're kicking the show off. Is the Young Bucks have officially turned heel after months, nearly a year maybe, of them going back and forth, trying to figure out where they're going, what direction they're going. It's finally happened. They have super kicked the the good guy Jon Moxley and several times, and now they have joined Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers in a new formed Bullet Club, or a reformed Bullet Club. Marcus, you called this last week. You said this would be the thing to do, and that's what they did. How do you feel about the closing segment of this and where it might be going?
Well, when I say a heel turn, so like obviously it was a heel turn. They wound up joining with the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega, but like I was really hoping for a strong heel turn. You know what I mean? Like I was hoping for over the top, very strong, aggressive, not this like doing it with a whimper sort of a thing. I mean, the Young Bucks, Dominic, they are just routinely coming off as like weaklings, like they don't know what they can't make decisions for themselves. They come off as super weak. Even their heel turn, which I wanted to have happen, was weak. So it's
really? Okay, all right.
Yeah, dude, it's truly unwatchable. They come off as like these really impressionable, like easy to scam suckers. You know what I mean? And they're finally just like, okay, well, fine, we'll join with the bad guys, because this whole thing made us sad with Kenny Omega. It's like, no, dude, if you're a heel in pro wrestling, something doesn't make you sad; it makes you pissed off. Like, come on now. It was just, the whole thing came off really.
So you wanted it to be more black and white.
I wanted it to be like, maybe Jon Moxley had Omega ready for the finish, and then the Young Bucks out of nowhere just super kick him and like put the boots to him, disqualification, grab chairs, start kicking the crap out of him.
You didn't want any confliction whatsoever. You wanted
no, I don't want to see people conflict. This is not me trying to watch The Young and the Restless. I want very clear, like, you know what, we're with this guy, we hate you, we're gonna kick the crap out of you for it. Not this whole like, oh, what do we do? Should we kick him? I don't know what to do. Oh, he's hurting him. Oh my god. It was like this super like sensitive, like millennial way to turn heel, and it sucked.
Millennial way. Listen, I get that to a point. Like, the Bucks, there's another podcast I was listening to, and it's actually Mark Madden's new podcast, and they were saying,
oh, dumb.
I know. Well, I'm gonna
plug that piece of
I'm
shit.
gonna pull a couple things from that, because there's a lot of things I disagree with what they said on there too. But this is kind of one thing I did kind of think is that they kind of act like teenagers. Well, I mean, they have this teenage vibe, and it's like you got to make a decision. And it was kind of like that angsty thing where it's like, all right, I do, having that kind of thing kind of gets a little, you want these guys to come off as like bigger stars than like some guys that don't know what their constitution is at this point in time. And so I get that, but I do like that they actually turned heel. I think it's a step in the right direction. And I feel like going into that, I mean, they played into this. This is how they've been acting, is conflicted. So if you're going to do it, I guess this is the way to do it. And they did it. So at least they did it. And we're going to see, like, I think a more rock solid version of like heel Young Bucks from now on, because we're not going to get these. What do they have to be conflicted about? They joined now. They made their decision.
I need you to post what James just said. Marcus wanted the Young Bucks to find their balls that they left in ROH. He nailed it. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted. It is good that they're heel, and maybe next week we won't get any more of this whole like, will they, won't they, like, are they really heels or were they just helping their friend? I'm so sick of that shit with the Young Bucks. It's week after week. It's very clearly their directive, has to be, because it keeps happening with them. Where it's just like, oh, well, what are they? Are they heel or are they babyface? Are they snarky and funny? Are they sad? Like, there's all these things that are like kind of going on with them. It's like, no, dude, like, as wrestling fans, we watch wrestling because we like simple storylines and physicality, and you aren't giving us any of it.
Well, I think we're getting it now. And that's what I want to say about it, is I think after this, I think it sets the tone maybe for the rest of the product in a lot of ways, because yes, a lot of the times our big nitpicky thing about storylines, major storylines, was the fact that the Young Bucks were we didn't know what they were, and they didn't seem to know what they were. So Now it seems like we got that direction. And I think that might be a good indicator for the rest of the product because, we might get a more solid version of what to see going forward with heels and baby faces. Maybe there'll be a more concrete version of everything instead of like this gray area with other things where like we don't know. And we can talk about that here later on too. There's something else I want to touch upon with that.
Sure.
But yeah. Well, something too that I wanted to argue against about the Mark Madden's opinion on this was that they said that this was too rushed. It was too quick and it happened too fast. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? It's happened with months in advance. Like we've got this there was no need to build this up where they could further be conflicted and not know what they're doing or like have this, push and pull of like, okay, the babyface Young Bucks against Kenny. I don't want to see any of that shit. I don't know what the fuck they were talking about there.
How long ago did they super kick the beloved Tony Schiavone?
It's got to be 4 months, right? 4 months was that?
Mark Madden just shows his ignorance every time he opens his mouth. Like he doesn't know what he's talking about. I hate that you plugged him on this podcast, Dominic. Oh, you're frozen.
I'm frozen. You can't see me.
There you are. Okay.
Was I just sitting pretty still?
Yeah, your face got very close to the camera.
Yes, it's true. I was reading comments here.
Yeah. So, Dom, the comment we just got, why does Jon Moxley keep getting screwed over? Nick, it's a good question. And I think that the reason is because he's being positioned like a traditional babyface, right? Where it's like they have to be fighting from underneath. They have to have all the odds stacked against him. And, that's what they're doing. He's got Eddie Kingston who comes out looking like he should be a mom at Walmart on a rascal scooter trying to trying to protect him. Can't do it. Jon Moxley's just getting the shit beat out of him by the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. So it's like that's wrestling, brother. Wrestling.
Now, Mark, to the point of Mox, do you think he looked like an idiot in this match, or were you totally fine with how he was portrayed?
No, dude, he looked like a babyface. Heat. I
agree.
That was about the only thing that they did right in the main event. All the heels got heat on the baby faces. They sent us home wishing that we had seen Jon Moxley getting the upper hand. That's the formula, and it's worked for many years, right?
Yeah. I mean, no, I thought I liked how pissed off he got, and like he was like, all right, I'm like, you guys can't make up your minds, I'm doing it. And he's like, just goes and paradigm shifts him twice and all that stuff, sets it up, and then they turn on him. So no, I really liked how it was and then obviously the deck was stacked against him in Kingston. So which leads me to where do you think they're gonna go with who, obviously, let's start with this. Where do you think they're going to go? We talked about this when they initially aligned the Bullet Club was, okay, so there's 2 tag teams. So we got the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks, and we got Kenny. So what's going to happen with that, Marcus? How would you handle this now that they're all heel?
So the thing is, I've been saying that the Young Bucks should have turned heel. Really, the right way to do it was to have made them both underdog baby faces, the Young Bucks, and then you bring the Good Brothers in, and then we get that dream matchup, right, where we've got the Impact Tag Team Champions versus the AEW Tag Team Champions. To me, that's a layup, but they fucked it up right out of the gate. And so now, I guess the right direction to move in is have them kind of act as the dominant force in AEW. And by that, I mean, Kenny Omega's got some gold. Let's put gold on another person there. Or rather, Kenny Omega's got gold. The Young Bucks have gold. What if one of the Good Brothers captures the TNT Championship? And then all of a sudden, it's like the Elite have this stranglehold on AEW, and then the rest of the roster is trying to come up and get them. And I think that the inevitable is going to be Kenny Omega's group versus Chris Jericho's group, and we get Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho 3.
I think that should be way down the line. And I think the only problem with that, Marcus, is you have so many factions that are either heels or faces together that I think everybody gunning for the Elite, I don't think it would really make too much sense because it would get too convoluted. Lots of things to get lost in the shuffle, which we'll talk about that in a major way here in a little bit too. But yeah, I almost feel so next week they have the Young Bucks tagging up against Pac and Ray Phoenix. So that would make sense for the Lucha Brothers and Pac to align, like have a kind of a pseudo alliance with Mox and Kingston. And so I could kind of see that. Another option we saw in the opener was Hangman Page. You know, he's has previous, obviously an elite experience, but seeing him go against his old foes or friends would be really, really cool to see too. So some kind of cool options that could be up in the air. And
I'm with it, man. I would like to see Hangman Page kind of get his comeuppance with Kenny Omega, because they left that with very, very much with Kenny Omega being on top in that situation.
Yes, I agree with that. I do agree with that. But Marcus, I liked the segment. Despite the wishy-washiness of the Bucks, that we got a decision, and the decision is heel. So, and I think, like I said, I think that maybe sets up for the rest of the product that we're going to get more clear cut. That was the big question, was like, okay, is there going to be gray areas with these heels and faces? I think we're going to get more of a straight line with it. Maybe
decision A+, execution F.
Wow. Okay. So
F on the execution.
So overall, is that a C grade? What is that?
I guess C or D. You know, like Dom, I want to see like when we watch pro wrestling, what got over in pro wrestling? It was people making decisive choices in pro wrestling, right? Like The Rock was always super sure of himself, always knew exactly what he was doing it on purpose, screwing people over, having a good time, getting over at people's expense, etc. Same thing with Stone Cold, beating the shit out of his boss, like super decisive human being. Indecisiveness that the Young Bucks are showing is not an attractive look in a pro wrestler. It's not something I want to see.
It's not ultimately too. Yeah, it's not an attractive role for any like protagonist or antagonist in a lot of ways. I mean, you do want some clear cut kind of thing. This is a pretty wild comparison, but like you look at The Walking Dead, and so much of that show became like, oh, should I kill or shouldn't I kill? I feel so conflicted. And they would go back and forth with that. And you're just like, all right, make your fucking decision. Choose one.
Yes.
And it tuned me out. I was done with it because I'm like, I don't give a shit. At this point, you should know if you're going to kill or if you're not going to kill. And it's just that. So I think we're just, but again, kill or not kill in Walking Dead is like heel babyface in wrestling, right? Or in AEW. So I think we got what we're gonna get. Like, okay, we know where they're going. This is the road they're taking, and let's get going down that road. So, destination forward.
Yeah, Dom, we kicked that horse. What else do you want to talk about?
Okay, we talked about giving them a grade. I want to give this segment an A+, this promo an A+, and that was Chris Jericho's promo against the Pinnacle. I thought it was very, I said this out on Twitter, it's very Attitude Era, like kind of promo, where it's like you get this long, like speech basically. And Chris Jericho is very good at doing that. And it really harkened back to almost like the kind of promos he would cut back then. And he ran people down, had some really good digs, and really set the tone for what we can look forward to as babyface inner circles. As the babyface inner circle. Marcus, what did you think of that promo? And therein we can lead into Tyson too in a little bit too.
Yeah, I think that I've been saying it for a while now. I think that the right move is to turn Jericho babyface. It's like at least now it makes sense when the crowd is singing his theme as he comes out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like it feels like excitement, electricity almost.
Right. I thought it was a good promo. I didn't think it was a great promo. I thought it was fine. I didn't hate it. It like had some really good moments. Kind of felt like he was doing like a little bit of over the top babyface stuff. But like I thought it was pretty good. My wife actually. So for those of you who are new to the podcast, once a week, my wife always watches it. She's a super novice pro wrestling fan, and so she was watching during that segment. And she said she had two things to say. She said, he looks like he needs a nap. because his eyes were all red.
Who, Jericho?
Yeah. And then she was like, "This is lasting too long." So those were her two. Those were her two comments on it. I kind of agreed with both. He looked like he needed a nap, but also I agreed with it going a little bit too long. It was just a bit much. I thought that all the references to the Federation, as he called it, I thought that was kind of cool. And certainly like the throwing back to him wearing a scarf and having the list and all that. It was like some fun moments. So I thought it was good. Ultimately, I'm just really psyched that he is babyface.
I like the look too, the beard and like just the vibe that Inner Circle is giving off altogether. I think it's very contrasting to what the Pinnacle dress is like. And no, I liked it. I thought I thought it was a really, really great promo and something that you don't see. Like, I really appreciated it because it isn't something you normally get. And like in comparison to what was going on in NXT at the time, I think was the Gauntlet match. So, Chris Jericho pretty much, quote unquote, had a match in a way. Like, it's just like, cut promo, like, and did that. And that was their segment for that. So, no, I thought it was the highlight of the show. Honestly, I really did because, it's what you want to see out of a babyface Jericho, and we got it. So,
I don't know if that's going to be my highlight. We'll talk about what mine is whenever we get there. Some great comments here, though. No one wants to drink lukewarm water. It's ice cold or hot enough for coffee. It's true. Who wants lukewarm water? It's ridiculous. Nishad may have won for tickling me here. It's Ethan Page versus Hangman Page versus Christian Cage versus Diamond Dallas Page. I mean, it's right there. You
forgot Brian Cage though in this mix.
Oh, that's right. What about Brian Cage?
Mm-hmm.
What about
there,
Nick Gage? Isn't he? I don't know.
We'd have to go out of the element a little bit.
And QT and his posse, AEW version of Retribution. I can definitely see that. But I like that stuff. We'll get there.
Yep. So, okay, but what I wanted to lead into, obviously, was Mike Tyson and his appearance, the utilization of him giving a flurry of punches to Shawn Spears, and then saving Jericho, and then him and Jericho, like, embracing, and, that kind of thing. Marcus, what do you think? Tyson looked pretty damn, like, jacked.
Yep.
Great shape.
I thought that was awesome. I thought that was a great segment. It's a very 90s wrestling moment where you get that celebrity rub and the celebrity comes in and he's dominant. But I mean, like, you ordinarily, let's say that this was Karl Malone came out and he was just whooping on people. Like ordinarily I'd be like, why are they not getting into the ring? It's like one dude. I know he's a pro athlete, but get in there, they should get in there and kick the shit out of that guy. But I mean, it's Mike Tyson. We've all seen the clips of Mike Tyson knocking people out in like 30 seconds. So it's like, I know that if one of my friends was getting the crap beat out of him by Mike Tyson, I'd be like, I need to be careful about how I approach this.
Yeah, it's a little alarming. Like I typically you're like, okay, there's 5 guys or 6 guys or how many other were in there. We could take this one dude easy, but it's Mike Tyson and we've seen what he can do. So better leave. He's got his fists are registered or whatever they are.
Right. So. Nobody wants to get put to sleep on national television. And Mike Tyson, if this is a shoot, Mike Tyson could probably legitimately knock out almost everybody there.
Yeah. How could you argue against that?
Mm-hmm.
So next week though, Marcus, they built for a match that you're probably very intrigued with. Obviously, because it's a favorite of yours, Dax Harwood versus Chris Jericho with Tyson as the enforcer. How do you feel about that coming up?
I feel good about it. I know that Chris Jericho is going to go over because he's got the assistance of Mike Tyson, and also he just started a babyface run. So I'm not crazy about that because I love Dax, and I don't like that this is going to be 2 singles matches that he will have lost. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe they'll do like an interference thing to save him, and then Tyson will knock out the interferer. I'm not sure, but either way, it's good for wrestling. It's good for wrestling to have Mike Tyson. Good for AEW to have Mike Tyson and Chris Jericho rub up against each other a little bit. So it's I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
and God knows that Jericho and Dax are going to put on a hell of a match.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be very good. And they'll tell an awesome story where it's going to be like kind of like a unique match. I don't know. It could open the show for all I know. It could close it. It could open it.
Yes.
So very much.
And either way, it would be justifiable. So I'm pumped up about it, man.
Yeah. All right. What I wanted to cover next was the dynamic. Sting comes out for an interview and gets interrupted by Lance Archer, and then it kind of takes a 180. And Sting's like, "Hey, I agree with you. You need more. You need your time. And Jake, you better show him how it's done. Like, help him out." What did you think of this, Marcus, overall? And then where do you think it's going to go?
It kind of felt like having my balloon popped, because it was like, okay, like is Sting gonna have a match against this career ender of a dude in in Lance Archer? Like that could, I'm interested. It's like, do I want to see Sting, get the shit beat out of him? Absolutely not, because he's old. But I don't know. It felt a little bit like having my balloon popped. I wanted to see that kind of come to a conclusion between the two of them, and it's seeming like we're kind of not going to get it. Seems like they might actually maybe align or something. But like, which could be interesting, them aligning. But I like the whole like Sting and Jake have a history, and Jake wants to get his one up on Sting. So it's
how would you feel about this though, Marcus? Jake leaves Lance, turns on Lance, aligns with somebody else, and then there you go. You got Jake and Sting still going at one another, but you have Lance as a buddy of Sting's, and like indirectly Darby Allen too.
I mean, I guess, who do you put somebody? Who do you
figure it? I mean, the roster's huge, man. You could get somebody in there.
I mean, what could be interesting is you turn Jake babyface and you get him with Mox and what's his face, Kingston. But they don't need anybody to talk for them.
Huh?
They don't need anybody to talk for them. But
yeah, they don't.
Lance Archer has proved that he doesn't either. So I don't know. I don't know who you put Jake with.
You could easily find a credible heel that you would want him to align with. Whether that's geez, I'm trying to think. Let's mull that over while we continue on. But I like it. And I didn't think my balloon popped. I just thought, wow, what a different angle to take, because I've been all in the boat to have a babyface Lance Archer since we've been getting that like for weeks on end, and then finally we're like, okay, he's kind of going in this route. What's going on exactly? Again with like gray area stuff, but then finally like this kind of makes okay. All right, they were teasing him as a face now earlier, and now we're getting more of that. So I like it, and him being with Sting and Darby potentially too. It gets like this misfit group together, and then maybe goes back to the point if Moxley needs some and Kingston needs some friends to help them out against the Elite. It could set them up for these, like a hodgepodge of these guys. Like, could you imagine like Sting and all those guys working together with Moxley? It'd be a cool alliance going on, like pseudo alliance. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of directions to move in right now. It does feel a bit directionless, but I'm fascinated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it'll iron itself out. Something too. Talking about alliances is Christian getting the pitch from Taz to join Team Taz. Would you like to see Christian in Team Taz, or would you like to see Christian go against Team Taz?
Go against, and I think that's how it's going to play out. I think that Christian is like, I think he's in his sweet spot right now, where he's basically like, he's this legend who has come out of retirement, and he's just like, look, I just want to prove myself. I don't need to be friends with anybody. I don't need to align with anybody. I am just back, and I'm ready to roll again, and I want to prove myself. Mm-hmm. Like I want Christian to be like this lone wolf type character who's like just slowly edging his way toward Kenny Omega.
Is that pun intended? Edging?
No, it was not, but I liked it. Hey, how about me this week, Dom? Calling the Young Bucks, coming with the puns and not even knowing it.
The sweet ass puns. Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm with you on that. It sets up, Taz going up against Christian and stuff. I think that makes some good sense. And then you have like, Cage potentially leaving Team Taz. So hey, Christian might have a buddy, the two Cages together. Cage squared could be happening.
What a tag team.
Mm-hmm. Cage cubed. No, not cubed. That would be 3.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, Dominic. It is Cage squared.
Cage squared. So no, I would like that, and then you could have like Stark's team with Powerhouse Hobbs, and then go against those two, and then how cool would a feud between Ricky Starks and Christian Cage be?
That's what I was just gonna say. I'm hoping if that's the direction they're moving in, and I want to see like 3 matches with those two.
Like, oh man, like a classic best of 3 or best of 7 series would be sweet.
Yeah, start out with a one-on-one match. Christian goes over. We go to a stip match, like a tables match, and Christian gets put through the cage. Then we round it off with a third match.
Christian gets put through the cage.
Oh, it gets put through the table, and then we round it off with like a cage match.
Okay, all right, yeah, no, something to that in that nature would be great. Let's see. Okay, so how about? We spoke of Darby. How about his title defense against JD Drake? Very hard hitting, very like crazy. Darby didn't get too much offense in here. It was mostly JD Drake being dominant, but ultimately Darby gets the win with a top rope code red and then hitting the coffin drop. Marcus, thoughts on the match? Thoughts on JD Drake?
My cat was about to give me a coffin drop. Did you see her up there?
No, I didn't see it.
I saw her and I got ready for her to do the coffin drop, Dominic. Dominic, that was my highlight of the night. JD Drake versus Darby Allen. I think I love JD Drake, dude. Finding out that he was trained by George South is hilarious and awesome. And like just the fact that he was like this. He was an old school guy. JR even said it during the match. He was like, nothing flashy out of him. He's just big and dominant. And it's like, that's literally all this guy needs. Like, just big. He's good at wrestling and he's dominating him. Like, he had like the cauliflower ear thing going on. Like, he was just old school to the bone. And I loved it. I thought like you could take that guy and just transport him into 1988 Jim Crockett territory, and they'd be like, "Who's that guy? Awesome, get him in the ring." Yeah, like I thought he was awesome, and they put on a great match. JD Drake, I think, stole the show. Here, spoiler alert: MVP this week, JD Drake.
Wow! Oh, wow! Okay.
Yeah.
I liked the match too. I liked it. I saw JD Drake fight Baron Black on AEW Dark, and holy smokes, like it was a shorter match, obviously, but it was such a smooth but like hard hitting, like all those that spot where he bounced Darby off the ropes on the outside.
Oh my god, it was awesome.
He did that to Baron Black, and like. But what was so cool is like Baron Black would be coming back, give his own suplexes and stuff. It was like a really hard hitting back and forth fast match. And then the chest slaps that they did on on Dark with Baron Black. Holy shit, dude. Like at the end, like JD Drake hit this awesome like running knee and took out Baron Black, got the win. But like before that, they traded chest slaps. And like you see JD Drake stand up and his chest is bloody because he got hit so fucking hard.
Good
It
Lord.
was crazy. You got to go back and watch that match, Marcus, because it was awesome too. So yeah.
Dude's a great athlete. He did like this rolling cannonball on Darby in the corner as well, and I was just like, that looked devastating. Mm-hmm. Like especially because of the size disparity. It was something to see.
Here you go, Mark. Pair him with Jake.
Okay, I would take it.
Jake and Drake.
Jake and Drake. Let's go. Dude, there you go. I would take it. I think JD Drake has got star written all over him. Can't you just see him just like mixing it up with like Dr. Death, Steve Williams? Like he'd have been awesome. So man, dude's got world of potential. I hope they use him properly.
And how did you think Darby came across in that too?
Good. I mean, Darby was this 140-pound guy against this behemoth who's a great athlete, and he got a win. So, I mean, Darby came out well. I think JD Drake came out of it well. Certainly better than he was going in, because when they first announced the match, I'm like, who the hell is that guy? I've never seen that guy before. But then it didn't take long. The bell rang, and I was like, this guy's awesome. So
you were okay too with them not kind of introducing him to you in a better way, like a better fashion, whether it was like through a vignette or a promo or something like that.
I mean, now that I know him, because to me, I was like, this is just a job guy. Like when I first saw him, I was like, okay, so it's just somebody for for him to get a win over. So I was like, okay, just like a job guy, whatever. It's an enhancement match. But like once this guy got rolling, I was like, this is a main event talent. Like this is not an enhancement match guy. And they didn't treat him like an enhancement match guy. He had a good match. He was competitive. He did a great job. So now that like hindsight, I'm like, they should have done a vignette with him.
Something. Hopefully we'll get more of him. Like I would like to see him, like I said, I think it would be perfect to team up with Jake Roberts, I think that'd be great.
By the way, that's something that AEW is missing. They need vignettes.
They do it a little bit, but not to the extent that
anytime a new talent that they've gotten from the indies is going to come in, they need to vignette them.
Well, honestly, we'll talk about this right after this segment. Steven Chambers, I even forgot to put this on the list of what to talk about. Jurassic Express versus Bear Country. Kong versus Godzilla. It's sponsored, but it was not that. It was
a Godzilla versus Kong match is up next, Dominic. It sucked. It sucked. I fucking hated it, Dominic. What is a Godzilla versus Kong match? Is it
just two like the fact that Luchasaurus is big and a dinosaur kind of comparison to Godzilla, then Bear Country have these two massive men. They're kind of playing the Kong role. So that's the only connection I could really make from it.
So otherwise, when Kevin Nash fought the Giant, was it like a Frankenstein versus Wolfman match? Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Like, you can't just say it and it's just a thing.
I'm not gonna fault them though for getting a sponsorship kind of thing over. I think
getting a sponsorship thing is one thing, Dominic, but like saying like, well, that's what the match is. It's a Godzilla versus Kong match.
Well, you know what? It would have made more sense if you had Luchasaurus versus Lance Archer or something like that.
I guess. I don't know. Like, or just say like this match is sponsored by Kong versus Godzilla. like it's just as easy.
I didn't take that much exception to the fact that that's what they were promoting it as. But
like it was stupid, and JR was trashing it the entire night.
Yeah, he said it was pulling shoe ugly, but he loved it, and that means that
he was making fun of the Godzilla versus Kong thing all night. Like early in the night, he was like making fun because it's stupid, and he recognized that it was stupid. And after the match, or right before the match, he said, or no, it was right after the promo that they did for it. They did like a pre-tape thing with like a commercial mashup. JR sarcastically said it was fabulous, which I've never heard JR say the word fabulous in all the years I've been listening to him.
That was for the promotion of the match.
It was a mashup of the movie and then like the participants of the match that happened right before the match. And so after that was over, JR was like, well, that was fabulous. And I'm like, yeah, that was worth the price of admission alone. But no, I mean, the idea sucked. You just say that it's sponsored by this. What happened to the good old days when WCW be like, maybe it's Maybelline.
When they had Chucky scare the shit out of Rick Steiner. Is that what you mean?
No, maybe not that. They'd be like, Castrol GTX, here's Rick Steiner. Like that was fine. But the way they did this sucked. Nothing sucks worse than Luchasaurus and his fucking big boots that miss by 4 feet, though. That is awful.
My question is, what the fuck happened where Bear Boulder was holding Jungle Boy like in a fall away position, and then Luchasaurus leaped off, and he like was he supposed to catch him? What was supposed to happen there?
I think the idea was that once Luchasaurus got there to him, he was going to do a cross body, but the idea was he had him in a powerbomb position. So I think what he wanted to do was catch him in a cross body of his own while power bombing him. So he was going to get both guys at once, like pancake Luchasaurus while power bombing.
Jungle Boy.
But it was just such a botched spot, and it's like. You remember like me saying before how like when we were kids, you'd have like GI Joes or whatever, and you'd be like, and then they're in a wrestling match, and then we're gonna try this move, and it was just like something that defied the laws of physics.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like those guys are backstage, and they're like, and here's my idea: we do this crazy shit, and they're just like, yeah, I could probably do that.
You know what? Let's give it a try.
Right? And then it's like, why didn't that work? It's like because it's physically impossible. That's why.
That seemed like it was physically impossible to do that. Like, unless he had very long arms.
Like the dude is obviously very strong to be able to hold up a human being, and then like
his name's fucking Boulder, so I would think he's very strong.
He has another human being clumsily bump into him while he's holding one. So I don't know. It was, dude. I need Luchasaurus to like. He needs QT Marshall. Join that group so QT Marshall can fucking train him. Like, let's get George South in there. I feel like George South would work with him for an hour and be like, I don't know, dude. I can't do anything with this guy.
I mean, you do hear the crowd though, and he's pretty over, Luchasaurus.
Like, is he over, or is the fact that he wears a mask and is covered in tattoos and is like 6'8"?
That makes him over. You know,
he's really bad, dude.
Listen, I did not like the match. I thought, you know, Bear Country's, I like their look and I like the presence that they give, but they're still not there yet. You know, it's like they gotta, you know, I think there's a lot more other teams you could put in that mix. I understand you're wanting to, it was almost like how WWE shoehorns the pay-per-views in. So like every month they have that theme pay-per-view, like, oh, it's Money in the Bank. So we have to have people get money in the, like, get ready to qualify for Money in the Bank, or hey, Hell in a Cell, so we have to have 2 Hell in a Cell matches. It's like you're shoehorning these pay-per-views in where it doesn't make sense from a storyline perspective. In this like little microclimate of a match, you have these 2 big guys simply because there's Godzilla versus Kong. So in that regard, Marcus, I'm with you, and I feel like that was unnecessary. Like if you're gonna have a match, hell, you could have Jungle Boy versus like a big man, like as Godzilla versus, sponsored by Godzilla versus Kong or something, and you can make some ties to that. I don't know, but like, yeah, to have these big tag teams, I would have much rather seen like Jurassic Express versus Butcher and Blade or somebody like that. You know,
I wouldn't. We've already seen that shit like a million times.
Sure, but I'm just saying like a more established tag team is what I'm getting at.
Thing is, I like Bear Country, and I like, they seem cool. They seem like good athletes. They seem like enormous guys. But you're right. Like, we don't know who they are. We have no reason to root for them or root against them right now. Mm-hmm. They're just like a couple dudes who came out and they were wearing like human faces over their faces. Right, it was. But like, what would make it more creepy is if you did a vignette and you showed like, you know, you're in the deep South, or no, you're in like West Virginia in the boonies, no cell phone service, and like, you know, these 2 weirdos are living out in the woods, and
you're on a raft with Burt Reynolds, and
right. Well, maybe that would certainly make them heels if they were doing that kind of thing. but yeah, no, they just need more vignettes, and they need to do a better job of introducing people. Luchasaurus needs to do what I said before, which is join Abaddon, and then just be like her big heater. Basically like the Diesel to her Kevin Nash, or the Diesel to her Shawn Michaels. Dude, directionless bullshit right now. I hate what they're doing with Luchasaurus. I hate, like, every time he's on my screen, I hit like the triple fast forward, or at least I'm tempted to. Like, I just want I would need him off my damn TV. I wanted to destroy my TV when he missed a big boot. He did it like 3 times. He was just like missing, and he was like, "Oh, you want a piece of this?" Misses him. He's like, referee, miss you too. And it's like I hate it. I hate it when he's on TV, Dominic, and it sucks because I want to like him. He is 6'8". He does have a great look. He's got an awesome body. He's super athletic, but he sucks.
Yeah, I mean, hey, get some. Yeah, maybe you should join QT. Listen, Bear Country, also with Jake Roberts. Thoughts?
Yeah,
on that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Marcus hates the dinosaur. It's true, James. I want to like him. I've tried to like him. Can't do it.
Did you like Jurassic Park as a kid?
Yeah, love Jurassic Park. They're fucking it up for me though.
Really fuck it up.
Dude, Jungle Boy is a star.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, get it. Like, he was the highlight of the match. I thought Bear Country, like I said, they look cool. They had some cool moments. But man, Luchasaurus, I just hate it. Hate him. What's next, Dominic? I'm done trashing Luchasaurus. At least for this week. I'm sure I'll have more reasons next.
You're getting wading into the deep right there. Let's see. What do I have next?
Hey, great show, D'Angelo Brothers. Thanks, dude.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Let's see. Ty versus the Bunny. No. Before we get to that, I want to talk more so. Well, this is what I wanted to talk about first. Marcus. So I listened to the Wrestling Observer Radio, and they were giving off some statistics about somebody did some data for the Meltzer and Brian Alvarez, in their forums or something like that. And they happened to mention that something that we talked about last week was the overabundance of talent on the show, on a 2-hour show. And, they said over the course of the past 90 days, I think it was, WWE's played host to 78 different talents on all 3 programs. So SmackDown, Raw, and then NXT. If you had to guess how many talents, I think I screwed it up. Yeah. So past 3 months, past 3 months. If you had to guess how many talents have been played host to on Dynamite, what number would it be for you?
Played host to.
So they were featured on there. How many wrestlers have been featured over the course, I think, of the past 3 months, I think it's been.
I'm going to say 28.
Total, Marcus?
Yeah.
Total.
That's my guess. The people in and out. I'm thinking of like the members of the Dark Order, right? Then we've got like the other.
I'm saying all together, Marcus. Not just. I'm saying everybody from a roster perspective.
Over the course of 3 months.
Over the course of 3 months.
Okay. Well, in that case, oh shit, coffin drop. 3 months. Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? Is this making?
I think so. How about 48?
90 people.
Wow.
Isn't that a lot? That's a lot.
That seems impossible.
See, but they over the course of 3 months, 90 different talents have been shown on AEW Dynamite. That includes like from Cody Rhodes, Young Bucks, everybody. So like, it's a lot, man. It's a lot for a 2-hour show. It's a lot for even 3 shows that last 5 hours. No, more than 5 hours. So 3 shows that last 7 hours. So I think it kind of shows. I admire the fact that Tony Khan does not want to forget about anybody and wants to include people. But you have to find that balance and tighten it up, or you select who you're featuring. You got to do it, where it's like, okay, if you even set a cap to it's like, okay, I want to feature just 30 people total all together. That's my cap. That's a
lot. Like 30
even
people.
That's a lot. It is a lot.
It's a ton to keep track of.
Yes. So like, but you factor in, okay, managers, you factor in anybody that you're going to feature on the show, and you include them in that number, but you keep it to a certain limit. And then therefore, not only will you get those stars over, like further, that'll help them get over and make them seem more significant, because so much gets lost in the shuffle. Like I'm writing, like what I said this week, like when I wrote all the notes down, luckily Steven said something about Jurassic Express and in that match, the Bear Country, because I would have forgot to mention that. So because there's so much to take in, it's if you had another show that you were featuring talent on, like you do with Elevation and Dark, then it makes more sense. But right now, it's just a lot. It's a lot. And it does hurt the value in getting guys over that you want to see get over further, because there's so much talent there, and there's so much you want to see progress with these certain talents. Like we mentioned the Butcher, how we're big fans of the Butcher. How great would it be if he was like somebody that they really honed in on? But like he gets honed in on here and there, but then he goes away for a little bit and he gets lost. So much, everybody to an extent gets lost in the mix.
Yeah. It does make me wonder, because like the format for pro wrestling has changed, right? Where it started with WCW, they did Nitro and Thunder. Then WWE followed suit, and they had Raw and SmackDown. So it's like those are how they show all their talent. How was WCW or WWE for that matter doing it back in the day in the 90s? Because they had relatively big rosters, right? But Raw, when it first debuted, it was what, like an hour?
Yeah, it was just an hour.
Right. So I don't know how, like, they must have been doing every other, right? So like it would be like, hey, this week on Raw, we're gonna feature, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, and Doink.
Yeah,
and then next week on Raw, it's gonna be Diesel, The Undertaker, and Bret Hart.
Well, you can use a litmus test for today as MLW or even NXT, well, not NXT now, but NXT back in like the earlier, like the 2010s when they first kind of got it, like it's just an hour show, and they managed to squeeze stuff in, but it all makes sense and it's not overwhelming. Like right now, there's so much talent there, and a lot of them deserve a spot. But it's like you have to hone in and make those decisions on who you really, really want to feature and stuff like that. And then you can always filter people in and out, but you have to do it like you have to give these guys their moment in the spotlight, guys and gals, these moments in the spotlight. And
you have to cut the fat a little bit, I think, if you're AEW, and you want to. So obviously they have Elevation, and they have AEW Dark, and they have Dynamite. But like that being said, it's how much is a commercial on TNT? Do you think? Like the fact that they're featuring somebody like Luchasaurus on TV, for example, like that is a very, very expensive commercial that they're having there, and it's like they need to be putting all of their very best stuff on TV.
Yeah, and I know and a lot of this stuff. It is engaging, but you have to make the decisions on what you want to really engage the people in. Because if you're it's so hard to make it significant if you're giving us all this stuff. So, and like to that point, if you want to get these other talents on and featured, obviously put them on Elevation, put them on Dark. But I would mix up what you're doing on those things too, because there's so many matches on those programs, and it's cool that they get that chance. But I think what would be even cooler if you blended the matches on Dark and on Elevation with what you were talking about, vignettes and promos. Do that, mix that up more, have less matches, get these stars over, get somebody like a Baron Black cutting a promo, get somebody like Nick Camarado, somebody that we're gonna get introduced further to, get them in the mix. And if you're gonna do that, you can even transition some of those, give a little preview of that on your main Dynamite product, so people do get introduced to them. Have a little spotlight segment of somebody that's on Dark or on Elevation and put that on Dynamite, and then just to familiarize people with certain guys and gals. It's just hone it in a little bit. I really do enjoy Dynamite week in and week out, but it's like so much that you were like, okay, I want to see these guys become stars. I've invested in certain talents and I want to see them go in a direction. But all of them together, it's so hard to do, and it's pretty basically impossible to do. It is impossible to do.
It is. And, if you look at AEW, or rather our other podcast, which we'll be recording, I think tomorrow or Sunday, WCW Rewritten.
Probably Sunday, Marcus will be recording it.
Okay. Well, so I rewrite WCW. And so for me, I'm wondering how many talents I've featured, because I'm calling it a 2-hour program, but I'm writing in basically the same people every week and putting them in different situations. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm including enhancement matches and stuff like that along the way. But like I'm keeping it pretty simple as far as like the amount of people that I'm involving.
Yeah, you very hone it down, and you do make you've gotten not rid of people, but you haven't utilized people yet.
No, I mean, like how often I think I've had Ming and the Barbarian on once at a pay-per-view.
I think you had it twice.
I don't remember, but like thing is, look at soap operas as a format where like every week, or they have writing every single day. So they have new characters and new storylines every day, 5 days a week. And so it's like we aren't seeing new people be introduced that often. And when they are, it's pretty impactful. Yeah,
they make it's like, somebody gets introduced. I mean, we watched Young and the Restless as kids, and somebody gets introduced and they'd be in a big storyline, or like they would start off small, but then something would happen where like, okay, wow, that guy's feuding with Victor Newman.
And if that person got over on the on the show, they would like kill off an older person on the show and be like, guess this guy's sticking around.
Fuck that guy. Hey, you're getting in here.
Or they do the old like, well, that it is that person, but they had plastic surgery.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That old chestnut there.
That old chestnut. Mm-hmm. All right, we've belabored that point, Dom. Let's hammer on. Hey, do need 55. He had a cool question here, and this is one way to make it happen. Battle of the brands in the future along the lines of WWE bragging rights. Dark Elevation versus Dark versus Dynamite.
I'm not so big on that, simply because I think WWE's really crapped on that, and I don't think people are super into the. Again, I hate the fact that so many, like WWE specifically, tries to get the brand over rather than the star. I'm more about the star getting over than the brand. If you had faction, now they got plenty of factions. Maybe do it in regards to that, where you have like a gang, like Survivor Series, quote unquote, or something to that effect.
In fairness, WWE botches it. I think that if it's done properly, then no problem.
If you establish a brand to have some sort of identity and consistency and something to get behind, but the fact that they like draft people and then they trade and then they go back and forth and they don't adhere to a certain constitution or a rule, that does cause some problems. But I don't know. Like I don't give a fuck. I'm not like a Raw or SmackDown guy. I want to be a Drew McIntyre or a Daniel Bryan guy. Like that's how I look at it more so.
I think James makes a good point here too. He says it would be cool if Dark was treated like NXT to the main roster. Have a few people you can see on the show. Then over time they move up when they're over, and I agree with that. So somebody like JD Drake, for example, like let's have JD Drake on Dark every single time you do Dark, or at least every other time that you do Dark. Have him like kicking the crap out of people, manhandling people. Get him and get his finisher and get his signature maneuvers over, and then start doing vignettes with him on Dynamite, because then the diehards will be like, oh, it's that dude, that's that guy who's been kicking the shit out of people on Dark, and the people like me who don't watch Dark, I'd see that and be like, hey, who's this guy? This is interesting,
kind of cool. And then it kind of does, like, it could intrigue you to watch Dark too. Like,
absolutely. I don't mind the idea of having like a AEW Dark champion or an elevation champion, and then it's like, so everybody who's on that show is vying for that, basically the top spot on that show, and that champion then gets to maybe take on the TNT champion, or they
get a shot at the quote unquote main roster, one of ranked person in the division in the AEW.
There you go. Like somebody like JD Drake, you could say, if he was like, let's call him the elevation champion or whatever, you could say like, okay, he's having a match tonight against Pac. If he wins, he stays on Dynamite. If he loses, he's got to work his way back up to
like Jim said,
of his title, and he works his way through a prize.
Yeah, if they fought over a prize, it would make a lot of sense. It would make a lot of sense.
And get us invested, because I'd be like, is this guy going to be like a new star? Is he going to make it to the roster? Am I going to see him every week?
Yeah. And let me say this too, like Dark and Elevation are creating their own identities too because of the commentary. So you have Elevation, you have Tony Schiavone and Big Show, then or Paul White now, and then you have on Dark, you have Taz and Excalibur. So it's kind of like, okay, boom, there's a significant difference because you're having different voices on there. So you're creating something there. I think, I think what's really key here is less matches, more, and mix it up with more vignettes and more promos. Like get that over.
And I hope I'm saying your name properly. Nishad, character development is essential as always. Absolutely. We all know that pro wrestling is a work at this point, right? We all know that it's predetermined outcomes. That being said, we want to be challenged with storylines, and we want to be challenged with character development, and say like, oh, here's this guy's backstory. It makes it mean more. If they have a back, like let's say that I got into a fight with Dominic, you didn't know anything about us. Who do you root for? You don't know anything about us. If you know more about us and our backstory and what we've been through, then all of a sudden it's like, this guy's been through something similar to me. Like I want that guy to win, and then Steven saying AEW has enough women in the division. What about women's tag team belts? Sure, absolutely. I think I could see it. They certainly do have enough women.
I can see it too, but maybe down the road. I don't know. I think establish your women's division a little bit more. Like again, like pick out who you want to really spotlight and highlight as your women's division. And then once you kind of cultivate more of that division and create feuds and certain things more, so then I would kind of maybe consider some tag titles. I'm always kind of more less is more with titles too. Like you
you know this, Dom. All my eggs are in the cruiserweight championship basket.
That's one I am for.
You came around on that one, dude. Matt Sydal. Like, if we could regularly see Matt Sydal defending a cruiserweight championship against the likes of like Ray Phoenix, who, by the way, I'm excited to talk about later because he's an absolute star. Yeah, man, it's I would love that every single week.
Yeah. Marcus, what do you want to say about Ray Phoenix? Go right ahead.
Well, so he was in that segment, right, with Pac. It was the Death Triangle.
Yep.
Came out to the ring, and who was it that they were talking to? I don't even remember.
Oh, the Best Friends in Orange Cassidy.
That's right. So it was cool. They harken back to an old feud, which is cool. But more than anything, Dom, like what really jumps off the screen at me, like Ray Phoenix, they did like the close up on him. All he did was come out to the ring and like do his like stand on the rope thing. And I'm like, dude, that guy is a star. That guy needs to like. I want to see him challenging Kenny Omega. Like I want to see him in that position. Cody Rhodes, like because it's not my style of wrestling at all. That lucha libre. I'm more of like a traditionalist, but like I see what he has, and I'm like, it is awesome. Like he is a superstar.
You look at you kind of think what Ray Mysterio has done for wrestling, not just WWE, but like WCW and all that stuff. You get Ray Phoenix in a world title position, that makes that brand of AEW very diverse. Like, and from an international perspective, you get an audience. Like Ray Phoenix has such a talent from like the in-ring perspective, and he has that charisma too. You can see he has charisma. So it's like you put him in that spotlight, it just makes your brand feel bigger and global, like, which is great. So yeah, no, I obviously a great talent. Same with Penta too. Like, you can't beat either one of those guys. And like Penta in a fucking suit, just give me that every fucking week.
Oh, I love it because he's got like the lucha. It's like such a
classic.
Yes, and it's such a dichotomy between like his lucha libre look and then like the suit. It's like, dude, that's sweet. It's a sweet look. Yeah. All right, well, let's answer a couple more, and then I think we've got something like 2 more segments to cover. We've got QT
more here,
and then Hangman Page, right?
Yeah, this is a good question. Who do you both feel is the locker room leader in AEW? Not sure if they have one, but I would go with Stinger. Marcus, who would you say is the locker room leader? I've got one in mind.
I think that's a problem with AEW. Not necessarily that there isn't a locker room leader, but like when the boys are also upper management, I think that's a problem. So not taking anything away from Cody, not taking anything away from the Bucks or Kenny, like good for them. Like they saw this opportunity and they seized it, and it's great. But the thing is, Dom, that like, let's say that you were in a feud with Kenny Omega, and so you're backstage and you're working on the match. How much more difficult would it become when Kenny Omega is throwing out ideas that you don't like for your match to shoot them down?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the talent too, honestly, because if you're somebody that's kind of established with credibility and stuff like that, but if you're new and Kenny's giving you some input, you'll be like, okay, yeah,
Yeah, you'd say, hey man, whatever you want. Whereas if you were just working with a peer, you'd be like, I hear you, dude, but like, here's kind of what I was thinking.
This is kind of well, I mean that more so plays into the talent themselves. Then, like, if you're gonna do that, like that's your responsibility to kind of lay your groundwork. Be like, okay, I see your point.
Well, for sure, but who wants to rock the boat, Dom? Especially if you're like, let's say Max Caster.
That's what stars do, though. Like stars will do that. Like you have that drive and that quote it, like for lack of a better phrase, but ego. Like ego is good in wrestling. Like you have to have a bit of an ego to be able to get yourself over.
Hey, that I don't really have an issue with confrontation or telling people how I feel about things, but like I can say pretty definitively when I put myself in the shoes of an independent wrestler and you say like, hey, I just got signed to this contract, I'm finally making a full-time living doing wrestling, or I could argue with what Kenny Omega has to say and possibly go back to making $25 a night. it would be really, really hard.
Obviously, like if you're new in the company and stuff like that, yeah, you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, no, I'm a team player. I'll do what's best, like what you think's best. But like you get to work a little bit, you get relationships and form that kind of thing. You get a little more comfortable, like you do in any work environment for the most part, hopefully. Then you can kind of express yourself a little bit more.
But the point I was trying to make was I think that sort of environment makes for pseudo leaders, right? Where you've got like these guys who are leaders, but it's because of their position as members of company management.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, like how could anybody be backstage with somebody like Christian Cage and not listen to what he has to say?
Right. Well, and Tony said this too. Like people need to go to Tully Blanchard more. People need to listen to the agents, like guys like, well, not agents, they call them coaches there. So like D. Malenko, Arn, Jerry Lynn. So if I was gonna say who's a locker room leader, I don't know if there's one in particular. Like we named a few, but I would say Dustin, because a lot of, especially the women talent, really seek the advice of Dustin. Dustin coaches them in a lot of ways. And so does Thunder Rosa. Like Thunder Rosa and him have kind of from an outsider perspective, kind of almost like a coaching tandem that they work with a lot of these gals and help them. So I would say Dustin's a pretty good locker room leader.
Hey, by the way, wouldn't Thunder Rosa and Dustin make a fun tag team? They both have their face painted.
You know what, Marcus? I kind of pushed against this having belts, but what would be a cool way, instead of like having a women's tag team belt, you have like an intergender tag team title where it's like you have guys and a gal line up, but they obviously, a guy doesn't work a gal. Like if the tag out, they got to tag out. That would kind of be a unique take on a lot of things with that. So
I like it. I think that. Yeah. So originally I was going to push back because I was like, I do not want to see Dustin Rhodes blast a woman in the face.
Yeah, no, obviously.
But so no, if it's going to be like the old school tag out as soon as a woman is tagged, absolutely.
Okay, so next up, James says, would you like to see Spotlight? I would like to see Spotlight promos via Twitter and YouTube, etc., and allow fans to have a chance to vote on who they would want to see on the main event of Elevation or Dark. It's a great interactive way to do it. Yeah. And social media obviously is the way wrestlers connect with fans nowadays, and how you primarily connect with a viewer base in certain aspects of things. Obviously you have your mainstream television viewer audience, and that's very big. But like all the added stuff, like something like an Elevation or Dark, is how you connect with those fans, because they watch on YouTube and so on. So yeah, that's a great way to look at it too.
Absolutely. I mean, we have technology as a resource, so why not take advantage of it? These guys, it's like I said, it's like Scott Hall always said, every time you're on TV, it's a commercial for you. So you better make the most of it. And it's like, hey, with technology, you can be making your own commercials all the time.
Yeah. That's true. You are advertising yourself, and you really got to make the most of getting yourself over. And I think
Ethan Page has done a great job of that.
We didn't even mention that. They showed them a little bit during the Scorpio Sky, and him during the Lance Archer and Sting segment.
Yeah, so it makes it clear that we're going to see Lance Archer and Sting tag team against those two.
Yeah. And heck, maybe Jake's going to align with those guys.
Yeah, sure. Hey, why not? They could use a mentor.
Yeah. Dunede says, yep, makes sense. They have a ton of mentors there. Arn Anderson, Christian, Stinger, Lynn, Billy Gunn, Dustin, etc. A lot of experience, seniority there. Good for young and upcoming talent. Absolutely.
Yep. I didn't even think about Billy Gunn. I think a lot of people respect him and want to hear what he has to say. A guy who's got that many years in the business, and is also like, he's been successful in WWE as a single and as a tag team guy. It's like, man, who is better to listen to than that guy?
And like, that's another team we haven't seen in a while is Gun Club.
I'd love to see more of them.
And Austin got that highlight, and then we haven't seen that again. It speaks to like a lot of talent, and let's hone it in.
When's the last time we had Thunder Rosa on TV? When she beat Britt Baker, I think. Right?
That's a lot. I mean, granted, I think she's got like obligations with NWA and certain things like that too at this point in time. So I'm sure that kind of is a factor at the moment. But
speaking of which, let's get Nick Aldis on the program. Come on,
let's make it happen. Make it happen. Okay. One of a big segment was QT's promo, and him throwing blue paint on the Nightmare Factory And now it's just called the Factory, and they got a new logo and stuff. Marcus, what do you think of this segment? And do you think it's going in the right direction still? We said it was making progress last week with it, and it seems ahead. Do you think it's continued that? And how do you think of QT's performance here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving what they're doing. I think that so QT Marshall to me has never really turned the dials, as I made clear last week. I'm just not crazy about him. But like this now, all of a sudden, it's like, hey, now when he's on TV, he's kind of pulling me in. And so I'm interested, and the guys he's surrounded himself with. I like Nick Camarado the first time I saw him.
Yeah, me too.
Who he made a reference to the one guy being the boyfriend of somebody who's
so he was the longtime boyfriend of Bailey.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and like that's the thing too, is like they say that, but so much of the audience doesn't know what that is. It's like,
yeah, which by the way, it made me interested. I was like, who's he the boyfriend of? So there's something to be said for it. But really, most notably is this Anthony Agogo. Is that his first name, Anthony?
Yes.
Dude, like that guy has got it. He seems like he's good on the mic. He's got this cocky arrogance about him. He has the accent. And like he kind of just seems like he might wreck your day if you try to like piss with him.
Well, he's a Golden Gloves boxer, and then he won the bronze in the Olympics or something like that as well for Great Britain.
Nobody to mess with.
Yeah. So he's got a great presence. I very much like these guys all together, and I think QT kind of showed a little bit of his mettle too, where he's going to be able to be some sort of strong presence that is engaging, and that shows a lot of potential with having these guys around him too. I think it's going to be a cool like counter, almost like you have Superman in the Nightmare family, and then you have Bizarro in the QT faction.
Sure, why not? Absolutely. I like the idea that he's like manipulating these younger guys and like kind of teaching them his way of wrestling.
Varsity Club.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Martial Law, missed opportunity there. They should have called themselves Martial Law, but the Factory I think works too. It's QT Marshall's like his factory of dudes who he's not training properly.
The Factory, yeah, corruptive training.
Yes, corrupting them.
This is like almost like Serpico, where he's dealing with all the corrupt cops. This is the police station going on here.
Yep, I like it.
Marcus, Ty Conte versus the Bunny. Looks like they're setting it up. Ty Conte, Shida coming up maybe for a title shot. What'd you think of this match? And then Ty Conte, do you think she's a title contender and she's worthy to hold the belt at this point in time too?
No, I don't. I think she's great. I think that she's got a really, really high ceiling. I don't think that she's prepared for that role yet. What happened? I thought that wasn't it the winner of that hardcore match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa got a shot at the belt?
No, it was an exhibition match. It was unsanctioned, so it didn't even count as a match.
I don't know why I got that in my head, but I thought I keep waiting for like, okay, Hikaru Shida and Rosa, let's go, let's do it. And then it's like they made that reference, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's not happening. But yeah, so I think Ty Conte's really great. I think that the Bunny has a lot of potential too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think they're both still a little green. And so no, I don't think she's ready to be like the title holder.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you? What did you think?
I mean, I love Ty Conte. She's one of my favorite wrestlers, I think, going right now. I just like the presence and charisma she gives off.
Great aggressiveness.
And her moveset's really cool. I just couldn't help but kind of think of almost like whenever I hear Brazil, I think of Blanca from Street Fighter. And it's just like kind of like, again, to AEW's like international and diversity and stuff like that. It kind of gave me that like Street Fighter almost identity. It was like, okay, Hikaru Shida and Ty Conte. It's like neither of they're like American, and I think it's just a very cool thing that you don't see. It's a something to tap into in pro wrestling more so at this point in time. And,
there's something there, and I think that she's good fodder right now for Hikaru Shida if you want to keep building Shida. She'd be a nice feather in Shida's cap if Shida beats her. I think if you put the title on Ty Conti, you might be setting her up for failure. Just because not because she's not great, because I think she is, but because she's not yet as great as she can be. So I say full steam ahead with Sheeta for now. But I mean, as I've been saying week after week, Dominic, Thunder Rosa needs that belt. She needs to be the face of pro wrestling. I said it before and I meant it. I really see her possibly having the kind of market value that like Stone Cold did.
Oh, yeah.
She's got this unbelievable look. She's unbelievably talented. Super, super marketable.
She's great on the mic too, where she's like fiery and all that stuff.
Yep. Unbelievably marketable, and you know, she scratches the itch for basically everything you want in a pro wrestler.
Yeah, yeah. Now I'm surprised Britt hasn't been champion too, James. Like, you know, she'll get there. Obviously, she's almost like too Marcus in this role. Obviously, she's gonna need to hold the title, but she's in almost like a Roddy Piper role where she's so good that she doesn't even need the title almost.
No, I don't think she needs it at all. Where like
I think she'll need it at some point, just because she is one of the faces of AEW's women.
Well, she would go down as like the Mr. Perfect or Jake the Snake or Scott Hall. Like, how come they were never world champion? But like, there's a reason. None of them need to be world champions. Razor Ramon was over. Jake the Snake was over all by himself. Mr. Perfect, before he got injured, was over, and he was like one of the best wrestlers in the business. So it's like I don't know. I don't think she needs it, dude.
I don't think she'll need it, but I think it just would elevate her. Because like honestly, like she is, like you could argue that she is the top star in the AEW women's division. Like I think Thunder Rosa is the best, but like you can certainly make the case for Britt. So it's like I think she needs the belt in that regard. But like from a persona and you know, how she's able to handle herself perspective, yeah, she doesn't need the belt. Like she's so good that she doesn't need it.
No, I don't think so either. You could say the same thing about Hogan, right? Where you're like, well, he was so over. How come he had the belt for so long? It's because it's literally because of marketing. That's why Hulk Hogan had the belt for so long. So like this guy was selling a ton of merch. He was on lunch boxes, t-shirts. You couldn't turn anywhere in the late 80s or early 90s without seeing Hulk Hogan. So it's like people wanted to see him as champion. When he would lose the belt, viewership would go down on WWE. Right. And so that's what I see in Thunder Rosa.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. Marcus, would you like to see Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker have another match?
Yep, absolutely. For sure. You could make that a main event of a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Easily. Them on the poster, everything. And it would sell because, I mean, they've had two really good matches. The second one, this hardcore match, is iconic. Mm-hmm. And thing is that, again, Rosa needs to go over. She needs it more than Britt. Britt is Roddy Piper, and she can take the loss, and she's untouchable.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, like, and I think, yeah, I would like to see it kind of just be a long-standing rivalry too, where it's just like, okay, you know, they go in their own direction for a while, but then eventually they'll collide with one another and go back into it. I think I think that's the way to handle it. Is like you want to create those kind of things where, yeah, we say it already, like Hogan Piper, that's like a classic rivalry. You want to see like, you know, Hart and Shawn Michaels kind of thing. So I think there's a lot.
Britt and Rosa could be. This is James. He's saying Britt and Rosa could be AEW's female version of Okada and Omega, and no question about it. No question about it.
Absolutely.
Do need 55. Great show, bros. Enjoy Mania weekend. You too, man. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we appreciate all you guys tuning in.
Absolutely. It's been really nice too. Yeah.
One more thing to talk about. Max Caster, unbelievable. Great star. You know, Hangman Page passes the eye test easily. You know, he's got everything that you want with the eye test. Dude, so does Max Caster. He's big. He's athletic. He's great on the mic. It's like, man, it's sky's the limit.
Yeah. What did you think of the opener itself?
I thought it was good. It was a good match. Both of them are good workers. I wasn't crazy about the fact that like it did sort of make the Acclaim look a little bit weak, right? They cheated. It didn't work. They cheated again.
Several times.
Cheated again. Didn't work. It cheated again. Didn't work. And it's like, not only that, but then, you know, he's taking the finish and getting pinned clean after all the cheating. And it's like, man, that's not a good look.
I can subscribe to that. I liked what I did like about the match. It was very much the beginning. Like I like the contrast between somebody like Caster and Paige because it's like what I was really cool. And this is what Paige is so good at too, not just from a moveset perspective, but like his body language, I think is really, really good. Like top notch kind of body language. Like Max Caster's cutting this promo, doing his rap and stuff and rapping at Paige. They cut to Paige and he's just kind of like, oh, you think you're fucking that good, huh? Like, what's up with that? Yeah, I'll show you. Like,
but also the similarity too, where they were standing in the ring, and it's like they're about the same height, about the same build.
Yeah,
very, very, very different dudes, and it's like, man, that's interesting.
We talk about that too. We talk about that too with Starks and Darby. Like, same build, size, kind of vibe, but also just very different in how they look and how they present themselves. Yeah.
All right, one last thing. Steven just said steel cage, Rosa versus Britt. Sign me up. Let's do it.
Yeah, heck yeah. It'd have to be the blow off, but yeah, at some point. Yeah, I'd love
to. Best of 3. Let's get those two in a cage together.
Get it cooking. Let's get it cooking. Well, I think we covered everything here, right, Marcus?
That's it, man.
Yeah. Otherwise, I can't. Yeah, I don't think we didn't see anything from Miro, did we?
No.
Didn't see anything from Miro. I think there was something else that was missing too, but I can't remember. But again, just a lot of stuff. Okay. Here's the deciding thing, Mark. Well, you already said your MVP. What's your Marcus's Meltzer rating this week?
This week it wasn't a great episode to me. It wasn't horrible. It just wasn't that great either. I'm giving it a 4.8. Not a great rating. Unfortunately, 4.8 out of 10, folks. This is not a 5 if you're new to this. So only a 4.8. Just not their best effort. Missed opportunities, and again, just kind of shoehorning in content directionlessly. 4.8 this week. But yeah, dude, JD Drake MVP. Who's your MVP?
I got to give it to Jericho. I think that promo he cut was really, really good, and just made it feel big time. Sets the factions up very well, like from Pinnacle and a new version of the Inner Circle. We're on a good crash course with those guys. And obviously, we didn't even mention the Blood and Guts War Games that's going to happen. It's going to be good shit. Like, dude, little quick to happen this quick already on May. Is it May 5th or whatever early May it's supposed to happen. Little quick on that, and I would like to see them build to that, but still, War Games that we were promised, way back when the pandemic was still kind of in uncertain times. It'll be cool to see that, though.
No doubt about it. I think you're right. It's a little bit quick, but hey, let's have some fun. It's a fun time to be a wrestling fan.
Oh, yeah, and it'll be a fun thing. And you can do some sort of finish, too, I think, in the Blood and Guts match where it will make sense to carry the feud on and have more go with it. So, it's good. I like the show. I did like it a lot. The big exception I'll take, a lot of talent needs work. Well, not a lot, but guys like Bear Country and things like that. But you got to hone in. That's my big thing, my big takeaway from this week. And, going forward, I'd like to see it. But ultimately, I really like the show. I thought they're on a right course with a lot of it. It's just a lot to take in. So
it is.
Marcus, how did they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me, as James graciously pointed out. Thanks, James. You can follow me at Marcus P. D'Angelo. You can also follow our other podcast, WCW Rewritten, at WCW Rewritten. Dominic, how can they follow you and WrestleZone?
Yes, so you can follow me on Twitter at Dominic D'Angelo. You can follow WrestleZone on Twitter at WrestleZone.com. And you can go to WrestleZone.com for all your wrestling writing needs. Marcus, but first off, thanks, guys, for all the great compliments and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really nice, guys. Really appreciate you all tuning in.
Yeah, James, obviously, you guys, it's really cool to engage with all you guys doing. I love doing these live shows, so it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, interview stuff. Let's see. Rhino. Bill Pritchard spoke with Rhino. So that interview, I believe, is up right now. Yes, it is. And then we also who did I interview? Richard Holiday. He will be having a match against Gino Medina for the IWA Caribbean title next week on MLW Fusion. This rivalry has been going on for a while. and we're gonna see something happen. The title's on the line, and Richard Holiday. We talk Yankees baseball, we talk coffee, and we just talk his feud. Rich is quite the man. I tell you what, holy smokes, Dynasty bros. So that's up there. And I have another interview. I don't want to reveal it quite yet. Lined up next week. So we'll see what happens there. It's a good one.
Awesome, man.
Yep. And Marcus, WCW Rewritten. Follow that on Twitter at WCW Rewritten. Did you say that?
I did. But go back in the archives on YouTube. Dominic and I have released a lot of content with that so far. The show's going great. We love it. I think that you guys are going to love it too. Yeah.
And also, Bossman Bill interviewed Polo De Mar for Effie's Big Gay Brunch that's going on this WrestleMania weekend, I believe. So, yes, talks about all the details of that. So be sure to give that a look into. Catch up. We're going to give the week for Rewritten. So, what I'll do is I'll post some clips to familiarize some people with it. If you guys are on Twitter and stuff, get your dose of that and get caught up. And we'll present a new episode next week of that on Thursday. It drops every Thursday. So,
all right, gang, we've kept you long enough, and we will catch you next week on 2 Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes with the D'Angelo brothers. Thank you guys again for checking in. Really awesome to do the live interaction. Dom, we're gonna have to do these live shows more often.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys.